My name is Jessica, and my family and I are victims of domestic violence. Our original abuser, my ex-husband, David Murr, pales in comparison to the abuses we've been subjected to by the Superior Court of California in Siskiyou County and law enforcement in Northern California. When we were relocated out of state, I sought new protection orders when my California orders were due to expire, and I wanted to share a little bit about what that court had to say and how those proceedings went. There was adequate service, and my ex-husband appeared personally in court to represent himself. The judge offered to let him have more time because even though he had been effectively served, he was entitled to a few extra days. He insisted that he did not want the extra time. He was ready to proceed. My filing consisted of around 30 exhibits, 6 pounds of paper, documenting hundreds of harassing phone calls and voice messages, threats to kill us, physical violence that he had exerted against me and my children when we still lived in California. And the court, of course, there was no way the judge was going to be able to make it through all 200 and some odd pages, and there were several other cases on the docket that day. So they asked me to pick out the most important ones that I felt would be most relevant for the court to review. So the ones that I chose were an abstract of harassing voicemails that he had left me over the previous several years, a screenshot of a post that he wrote about a man who shot and killed his ex-wife at a child visitation exchange, claiming that the perpetrator was his hero. That shooting happened in Cottonwood, California in 2014 or 2015. And the shooter killed his ex-wife, killed his ex-father-in-law, and injured a bystander. Another exhibit that I asked the court to review was a statement from my new husband's ex-wife regarding the danger she felt that my ex-husband posed to all of us. I included screenshots of messages that were sent to me via Facebook Messenger that my ex-husband was trying to recruit assistance with a plan to kill me. Essentially, he was looking to hire a hitman, and this person that he thought would be a good hitman reached out to me. I had never met this person before, didn't recognize him, didn't know his name, and he sought me out because he was convinced that I was in that much danger. So I included the screenshots that he shared with me. I also included the forwarding address form that my ex had filled out and filed with the post office after we separated to have my mail directed to his post office box so that I wouldn't ever receive it. I also had a copy of the criminal protective order that California had issued on January 14th, 2013, and some police reports for violations of the protective order, and the photographs of the harassing text messages that he had sent me that were the reason for that particular police report. Of course, that's one of the ones that the Siskiyou County Sheriff's Office did never do anything with, never made an actual report out of it. It was just an incident report, and they never forwarded it to the district attorney's office. After the judge gave me a chance to explain why I felt I needed restraining orders, she gave him a chance to rebut. She gave me a chance to reply again, and then him another opportunity to speak. And then the judge made her ruling. This case comes before the court on a petition for a domestic violence protection order. There is an existing criminal no contact order, and that doesn't seem to be stopping the issues. There are ways to find a person if you're trying to seek them out for legal purposes. Threatening to kill them is not one way to do that. Having people search her out, potentially kill her, changing the P.O. box. I think the California courts are going to be interested in that because I have a feeling that the 2015 order of the California courts is going to unravel and is going to roll back. And it's probably not going to have this child placed with their father or her father. It is rare that I have the sheer volume, sir, of domestically violent behavior. The volume that is in this file is shocking and substantiated and documented, and it is very well put together. The burden of proof for me today is preponderance of the evidence, And even if it were clear, cogent, and convincing, I would still find that acts of domestic violence have occurred, and that there needs to be an order put in place not only for Ms. Ingalls, but also for your minor child. The court is taking emergency jurisdiction over this case until such time as California courts can do what they need to do to address the issue of a parenting order that was issued in 2015. I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know what the evidence is going to show, but what I do know, based on what I've seen here today, is that I'm keeping this child with her mother pending that California case. He went on to argue with the judge and interrupt her several times. He still tried to assert that he had the authority to take our daughter out of our new home state and bring her back with him to California. And the judge said, that being said, 2 years later and 2 years after the fact, I am not placing your minor child back with you. This is the state of Washington taking emergency jurisdiction over the custody of your daughter until such time as the California courts can address the situation with all the evidence that is now going to be known, with the other party actually participating to see if the result of that hearing will be very, very different. What I'm saying here today, sir, is that I'm granting this order. I'm keeping the child placed with her mother. There will likely be a UCCJEA hearing between the two courts. And I'm certainly going to let the California court know that I will be relinquishing our jurisdiction just as soon as they have a handle on this case. But right now, I don't think they have any idea what's going on since the order was entered in 2015 to current, and the circumstances about how that order was entered in the first place. Specifically regarding the mail that was clearly diverted, the stalking. There is some legal purpose, I would have to say, for trying to seek out your child, but the methodology and the violence of the words and the actions and the thought processes are extreme, and a normal person would be absolutely terrified to have to deal with these issues. And I get that you say they're false, and I'm not believing you at this point in time. I don't believe that your allegations that none of this happened. She goes on, and if there's an attorney or a member of the media or a politician or somebody like that out there that would like the full transcript, I can provide that. The Spokane court in Washington found that he had committed acts of domestic violence, that he had been violating previous protection orders, and that my children and I needed protection orders from him. That judge had a lot more faith in California than I'll probably ever have again, because the judge in Siskiyou County, California, determined that despite the restraining orders, despite the judicial finding of domestic violence, despite the fact that there was an active warrant for his arrest for domestic violence, that in contrast to California legislation, it would still be in my 7-year-old daughter's best interest to be placed with this violent, abusive, dangerous man. We got to celebrate her 8th birthday very shortly before he came and took her. She wanted to go see The Grinch in the movie theater, so I took her and her brother and her best friend, and we saw The Grinch. We were going to go ice skating too. We just hadn't had the time. I thought we had all winter. And now that's been taken from her. Her friend has been taken from her. Her brother has been taken from her. Her school, and all the other things that she loves. All the other things that were comfortable for her, all the other things that were supportive and healthy and encouraging to her have all been taken away. So please share this video and share all my other videos with everyone that you can. What Siskiyou County is doing to people is not okay. Their broad policies of discriminating against victims and against vulnerable people is not okay. Law enforcement's failure to act over and over and over is not okay. This is not okay. It's not okay for me. It's not okay for other women. And it certainly is not okay for my little girl who's now 8. What she is going through is not okay. All the laws that have been passed, all the effort and the money that has been spent on all legislation that is supposed to protect us means nothing when it's not enforced. So share this video, share it with everyone, share it with politicians and reporters and anyone. Hopefully someone will know how to make a difference and how to right the wrongs that have been committed against domestic violence victims like me and my family. It's not okay.